It's just a very small.
Okay, expensive.
Yeah, it is the smallest.
What's his name? Looks like you before the fire. Are you anxious to stop sitting there? Are you upset? Okay. Okay.
No.
Before it got really fancy.
This was
I kind of
just
used to
west.
They used to deal with stuff like that. It just did it. So, knew the concept of it, and figured it out. Our old soundboard, half of our.
I can't, I just have to turn on.
You had to kind of blend the channels in just to get
I've been in
the
that
stuff to
area.
work.
Recommend.
First company I worked for.
I think after the first,
Okay.
we got
They were
it.
headquartered research transfer.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start. Like I said, feel free to keep eating, go back and fill your plate again if you want.
And then, of course,
I want you to feel very
UNC and Duke at the same time. I didn't realize they were like 7 miles.
cool with my information here. Okay, so part of this is I'm gonna start off and share a few things, and then I'm just gonna open it up to you to ask whatever. Some things I'm gonna defer to Becky, because she's really good on some of the details of the travel or food or hotel and stuff like that, but I'm gonna try to hit as many of these things. And I'm gonna try to be succinct, and if you hear something you wanna know more in that category, ask, and I'll try to develop it further from there. Okay, first of all, I think, is everybody that's sitting here right now, at some point put your name on the clipboard out there on the monitor table? Okay, you don't need to do it right this minute. That's just our way of kind of keeping track of who interested parties are, okay? Also on the table, we have a stack of these brochures. You'll definitely want one of these. Folks that are watching by live stream or watching this later, you can go to our website and pull this up. And by the way, you can go, we have a special page on the website. It's anchorbaptist.church/Israel 22024. And so you can go there. If you forget that, there's a little thing that slides across the opening screen of our website. And one of those has a link for this as well. So, as I mentioned before, this is a church trip, but it's not an exclusive Anchor Baptist church. We're giving priority to people here in the church, but maybe some of you know people, believers that would really benefit and like to go on this trip, but they're not in the church here. They might even live away from here or something like that. Definitely willing to consider opening it up to them. I think we would have plenty of room for that. They would just need to know all the particulars of what's involved in saying, yes, I want to go on this trip. One thing that's on the back of this brochure is the breakdown of payments. And these are per person payments. So if you're a married couple, you just multiply it times 2. So the overall cost of the trip is printed on the front. It's just a little over $4,000. It had been $3,999 or something like that. But things went up. There's always a chance that it could end up being a little less than that, but don't count on that, especially with the way inflation is between now and next January with that. But we are looking for a deposit of $500 per person by January 27th, so just in a couple of weeks. If you give that deposit and something happens or you just change your mind, you can get that deposit back, no problem, okay? But we will encourage you to go ahead and make that deposit, kind of trust the Lord that, to move forward with that. Once the time comes for the second deposit, which is April 28th, which is quite a ways out, but it'll be here before we know it, which is another $500 deposit. At that point, it's got to be non-refundable because, they've got to put some things in motion. There's a third deposit. Again, it's the same amount each time on August 28th. And then by October 27th, the rest of the trip needs to be paid for in full. Now, obviously, if there are certain things that if they happen, your money's gonna get turned back to you. I mean, if the trip is canceled or there's problems in the country or things like that. But there are other things that, if you're concerned about getting your money back, like sickness or I forget what all is, there is trip insurance, and the back of this covers that. Tells you how much you pay based on how much you're spending is the idea. So it's basically for a $4,000 trip, it's basically $400. So, if that's important to you, you can decide whether you want to risk it, save it, and everybody does something a little different there. That's a per person thing that you're doing there. And you could buy it on, if you're a married couple and you're like, I'm a little concerned about my spouse or something like that, you can get on one and not the other even type thing. So, so this does a good job of explaining where we're going to be each day, ideally. It is subject to change, but I will say from our experience, 90% of it was just like it says here. A couple times because of something that was going on, they decided to like flip something where we were supposed to go to Jaffa one day, we ended up going to Caesarea Philippi that day, and then went to Jaffa the other day type thing. We still saw pretty much everything that they said we would see, it just maybe a little different order, and they're great at that. So, if you know Craig Hartman's one of our missionaries with Shalom Ministries. He is the one that's going to be helping us put this together, but if you hear me talk about education opportunities, tours, that's actually the tour group that does all the work, flights, putting the bus, tour guide, hotels. They take care of all that for us. So EO is the one, that's just a name that you'll hear and probably is mentioned, when you can see it down here on the corner of the brochure. That's what that is. That's who we used. This is basically the trip that Becky and I took back in January of 2020, but more. Okay, we went for 10 days, and this is like a full 2 weeks here. You're going to spend, well, let me say this. Right now, the biggest thing that you need to be concerned about, other than paying your deposit and saying, yes, I'm going to go, and you need to go. Okay, let's just establish that. If you're here, you need to go. So, passport. Some of you may already have a valid passport. There is a time frame on it and stuff like that. Even if it hasn't expired, sometimes they suggest that if it's getting close to expiring, go ahead and get it renewed. And it's not very hard, but it's not too soon to start for that, I'll tell you. When we applied, it was $145 per person for us to do that. You can do it right through the website of the State Department. That's who does it. You can go to travel.state.gov, and they have a tab there for travel or for passports, and it's very intuitive, very user-friendly, tells you what to do. You can go someplace like a CVS or UPS store and have a passport photo made, but honestly, you can also snap it yourself. They tell you specifically what they're looking for, upload it, all of that kind of stuff. So the form is called a DS-11 form. You can fill it out right online through the State Department. So if you have any questions about that, wanting help with that, let me know. I'll be glad to help you with that. But that is very important. And one of the reasons I'd say don't wait too long for that is because, like, I know with mine, I had traveled previously, but it was just in that window I had to renew it. Becky didn't have one. We were glad we applied earlier because what we sent in, they didn't accept the birth certificate that we sent in. We had to write to the courthouse where she was born and have them send it. So it was still fine, we got plenty of time. But if it had been like closer to the trip time, we would have been sweating bullets, okay? So that's just a word of wisdom there. Just a couple tidbits about travel. Israel is 7 hours ahead of us. You just think about it that way. So every time it is here, it's 7 hours ahead of that. The flight will most likely, what we did, and I'm assuming we'll do the same thing, was fly out of Myrtle Beach. The way they took us was then to Atlanta, then to Kennedy Airport in New York, and you got some layovers there, depending, and then the big flight over the ocean straight to Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. We used Delta for everything. I think they tried to do that because it was very reliable. It made it very easy, and we didn't have any problems whatsoever with the airlines and flights and things like that. It was good. When we left Myrtle Beach at 11 a.m. That was our first flight, and we were in Israel at 5 a.m. the next day, their time, just to give you some idea. It is, once you leave New York, it is an 11-hour flight. And we got on at like 11 p.m. And so it works best if you can sleep, and there's tips, like face masks to cover your eyes, good earplugs that are very noise canceling, neck pillows. They'll have blankets that they'll come by and give to you, something like that. We're probably all flying coach. I mean, anyone's welcome to upgrade your ticket to something else, but I'm just telling you, it's really, really expensive. There was one person in our group that had a lot of miles with them, and they upgraded them for free. We were all bitter at them. We were happy for them, but anyhow. But you can sleep. Delta's not Spirit, so you got leg room and stuff like that. But if you can sleep on that flight, then your jet lag will be very diminished. I don't really remember, other than being fatigued, I don't remember having any jet lag. Some of the folks in our trip did. But you get over it after the first day. And yeah. Any questions so far?
So this is definitely flying Delta.
No,
You don't know that.
I don't know that.
Southwest over.
I don't know. That will be up to EO. They'll determine that.
Up to who?
EO, the tour group,
Oh, okay.
educational opportunities.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just saying is when we went, it was with Delta. They're going to pick a reliable. They're not going to do anything like a budget carrier in that way.
Where are we flying out of again?
I don't know for sure. I mean, we'll start here in Myrtle Beach.
We actually were in Charlotte. We didn't go.
I checked our itinerary this morning. Yeah. I think I got that right. Okay. ATL? I think that's it.
Yeah, it says Charlotte
Okay.
on here, but.
Oh, does it say Charlotte on here? This time it's Charlotte. Okay.
Atlanta.
Right.
Okay, I could be wrong. But it will be it won't be direct, in other words, where the layovers are. But yeah, so we'll have to pay extra. And there's a couple ways we could do this. We could like rent a shuttle bus and drive up to Charlotte or something like that. But as far as the pricing is concerned, this is starting from Charlotte for the price. Okay. What else?
I get confused. You said it's gonna start from Charlotte?
The price includes flight from Charlotte. So if we all do decide to fly out of Myrtle Beach, then that'll be on an extra tag price on top of that.
That's most likely Myrtle Beach to Charlotte, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Right.
which is not
Not
very
to
long.
Atlanta.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Just to be clear, it is Myrtle Beach Internet.
Yeah, I might be wrong. She
I
remembered
think it's
Charlotte.
LaGuardia.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Unless
like
it says
McCarthy.
Kennedy
Well, yeah. And I may have gotten my wires crossed on that, so. But anyway, there'll be a few stopovers, and because of that, there'll be opportunity to eat in the airport. That will be out of our own pockets individually. That's not included in the price of the trip. What?
Pack a lunch.
You pack a lunch. Yeah. Now, as you go through security, if it's like it was when we went, if you're taking food, it's good to pack like all your food in one bag because they're going to want to look through all of that. Yeah. And I mean, the same things apply with like liquids and bottles. There's, the PSA has, guidelines about how much shampoo you can have and things like that in different bottles. So that,
Are we not checking our bags then?
well, that's, okay, that's another question. So what we chose to do, which worked out for us, is you can check a bag. They'll give each of you, each person will get a special tag to check a bag, okay? But we chose to do all carry-ons.
Yeah.
So we took, between the two of us, we took 3 carry-ons. And then we each had a backpack. And I think that was
Just right, that was our personal bag.
that was our personal bag. Now, a lot of times, even though it was a carry-on, you get to the end of the jetway right before you get onto the plane, and they're like, you know, we don't have enough room in the overhead compartments, and then they'll take it from you right there. But then the nice thing is whenever that flight ends, you still don't have to go through baggage claim to get it. They bring it back to you at that point, too. So, but yeah, if you can fit it, and you know, because you still got to get it every time you're checking out of, because you're moving around Israel once you get there. We were in 3 or 4 different hotels for the whole stay. We were in one the first night only, one night, and then I think we were in 2 or 3 others after that. So, you know, sometimes you're in the same hotel for 3 nights in a row, 2 nights. So there is some movement. So when you get to the hotel, they will pull all the baggage out from underneath the tour bus and you go get your bags. So think about what you want to have to handle and get from the sidewalk up to your room. Okay?
What season is it there?
Just like here. So it'd be this weather.
Okay.
It's cool. Sometimes in the morning it's even kind of cold. We learned that layers were good. So you know, I would take, you know, like a long sleeve shirt that breathed well, and then like a vest, and then I had a leather jacket that I wore over that. And then I had a ball cap. And I took a pair of gloves. And I was never, with that, I was never too cold. But as the day went by, I could take the jacket off, still have my vest on. You know, she had layers as well. We both had the kind of the vest thing. She used like a scarf for her head when it got cold. It's good to have gloves. I took a poncho, a fold-up poncho, and there was definitely one day where I was glad I had that. When we went to Mount Carmel.
I just took a small umbrella.
Yeah, she took a small umbrella, but it was nice because it fit in my backpack, and when it rained, I could take it out, use it, you know.
So of course, like, how many, I know there's 2 to a room if you're married, but just say you have some singles going.
They're gonna want to pair up, 2 guys, 2 gals,
Okay.
yeah.
So always 2 to a room.
Well, your price would change. If it's based upon 2 to a room, this price. If you
Right.
said, I want to go by myself and I don't want to share a room, they'll
Right.
accommodate you,
Yeah,
but the price will be different. Okay?
yeah.
Back to luggage for a minute. Don't buy new luggage.
No.
Just have some serviceable stuff because the way the airlines treat your luggage, it is going to come back trashy anyway. So don't go buy pretty luggage to go, you know, go to the thrift store, buy something that's serviceable and works, has all the wheels working or whatever. But yeah, whatever you take, you've got to keep with you. Example, like the neck pillows, they give you a little pillow on the plane. But if you wanted a neck pillow for sleeping, we chose to get blow-up ones that would fold down and go in our bags, as opposed to the memory foam ones that you have to clip on and you have to carry it everywhere you go. You can't leave your stuff somewhere. So I would encourage you to think minimal. Minimal. You know, this isn't a luxury vacation, this is a trip kind of a thing. So, you know, the minimum amount of outfits and clothing, you know, mix and match your outfits. Take the least amount of, sorry, I can stand up.
No, okay. That might be easier so he doesn't have to move it.
Yeah.
Especially since you're saying.
Sorry, the least amount of clothes, you know, 3 or 4 bottoms, multiply the tops. It's because of the climate, you're not sweat a lot. They're constantly telling you drink water, because it's very arid, so you're not going to be real sweaty or anything, so you can re-wear stuff. If you're in a motel for 3 nights, you can always wash stuff out, hang it up to dry, so it'll be dry before you have to pack it again. those types of things. Think as few things as you can manage, you know, maybe 2 pairs of shoes, one major good pair, and a second if it gets, your others get wet, you know. I'm not sure, I just went with permy hair. I didn't take rollers or curling irons or anything. I just went curly because, you know, you've got, that's extra stuff to carry. You still can only take those 3-ounce bottles in a quart-size bag. So that's a 13-day trip, so that's a lot. So, like, I think solid deodorant doesn't count if you don't have to put that in there, you know, so you might want to change some of the things. I know they make deodorant wipes even, you know, which wouldn't have to go in your bag. So think through the kind of products that you cannot live without and things that you need to do.
This is a general question for everyone. Has anyone ever shipped UPS or FedEx internationally like that?
I don't know.
Because I used to, when I traveled a lot, I would never check my luggage. I would always ship it UPS or FedEx to the hotel I was going to be staying at, and when it was there when I got it.
They actually have a app too, a luggage app that they'll do that. No.
Never done it, but.
It worked out great for me,
Okay.
but
Yeah, if you're checking a bag, then you can put different stuff in there. We didn't check any bags, so everything we took had to be in that Ziploc bag.
They
Yeah.
don't bring the golf clubs.
Well, whatever you can, you know,
No,
think about
You won't
what
have time.
what
There's
you,
only one golf course in all of Israel, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
whatever you can live without. You know, you might want to just bring, you know, one good pair of earrings, or you know, leave all your extra jewelry at home and just wear, you know, minimal, simple, you know, as best that you can do, because you're going to be in and out the bus, walking from place to place, you know. Yes, there will be pictures, but, you know, it's just how it is.
could you specifically define minimal? I don't know my wife. Heard that?
Wait,
It depends
I'll
on
do
what
marriage counseling after this.
everybody has the what I can. Everybody has the what I cannot live without list, and what I could manage without this, or a little bit, a less of this, or whatever. You know.
It's also casual. So
Yes.
like, I had just started getting these Wrangler pants that were mostly made out of, help me out, what's that material?
Like a 12, same.
What is it? It's like a spandex, right.
Has pockets,
It's very stretchable and stuff like that, and you know, it sheds the water. And so I had like 4 or 5 pairs of those, and you know, wear them multiple days, you know, switch and stuff like that. And that had zipper pockets in it and stuff like that. We'll talk a little bit about security when you're in the country and stuff too, about what you want to do there. There will be like 2 months or 3 months before we leave, Craig will send us like this 17-page document that everybody will get, and it's very detailed. I went back through it this morning, kind of reread it to refresh myself about how it's going to work when you get to the hotel, what to do, what not to do. One tip he gives in there, just a sample. You'll see places as you stop at gas stations, and there'll be people out there with camels. And they'll be like, oh, I want to ride a camel. And they're there for that, but they don't want you to run over there and do it because he might be just stopping to, you know, gas up real quick or something like that and needs to get on the road again. So he's like, check with us before you do that. Also, you know, he says, if you take a picture of someone that's indigenous to the area, they're going to expect you to pay them for that picture that you snapped of them. Or if they have animals and you take a picture, oh, it's a cute baby goat, they're going to come up to you and expect you to pay them for the rights of taking that. And as Craig put it, and you need to pay them or there's going to be trouble. So
What's the amount you pay them?
he didn't say. I think the wisest thing is just don't take pictures like that. But or go up to them and agree in advance. You know, can I take your picture? And then, you know, maybe hand them, you know, and they take American money over there. You know, $5, take the picture, you know.
That's what I was gonna ask, do you carry in?
So we took cash, okay? I got one of those under the garment belly band type things that was comfortable. I never left any money or valuables in the hotel. Like if we went out for the day, anything that was valuable, you always keep it. You always keep your passport with you at all times. You never leave your passport behind. Even if you don't feel like you're going to need it, don't leave it in the hotel safe, because if you're stopped and they ask you for your passport, you've got to have it on you, okay? So you don't necessarily need to come out with it. There are a few places where you can come out with it. But I would keep the cash, and I kept it in different denominations. But we didn't end up using a lot of cash. The best thing to do is make sure your credit card can be used internationally. And, because they take it, over there just fine. It automatically does the conversion rate. You're not trying to like take money and convert it into their money, and then you have Israeli money left over. What do you do with that? So credit card is the best way to go, but you will want to have some cash for those odd things that
And tell your credit card company.
you need to tell your credit card company. Your cell phone, they do have Wi-Fi over there and cell coverage. Technologically, Israel's incredibly advanced, in some ways beyond us. But you'll need to make sure, who your carrier is. Hey, I'm getting ready to travel to Israel. What do I need to do to make sure my phone works? Sometimes they'll tell you, oh, you don't need to do anything. It's already set up. With ours, we had T-Mobile. I chose to use an international plan for 1 month just on my phone, and it was like an extra $20, and then we could use it that way. But I don't think we actually ended up ever taking advantage of it. We had it in case we needed to, because there's Wi-Fi everywhere. There's Wi-Fi on the tour bus as you're going around.
Yeah, I took pictures with my phone, but I didn't like call or anything. We had his phone
Right.
for that possibility.
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi is really good in the hotels. And so, like if I was posting stuff on Facebook to people back here, you can do that when you get back at night or something like that. So, okay. What else? Any other things pop up in your brain?
They have some American food over there.
They have really great food. They realize that the people that are coming over, a lot of them are from America. So there's definitely American-friendly food. So if you're pretty much, USA, they have the French fries and stuff like that. But I'd encourage you to branch out, because they have some of those wonderful produce over there. They'll have dates, figs, olives, They do, every place you eat is in public places. We're not eating in anybody's homes. So everything is kosher if you're eating. And most of the restaurants are in the hotels. And that's included in the price. So breakfast in the morning is in the hotel when you get up before we leave. When we come back, supper is in the hotel in the evening. And it's usually pretty lavish. Most of the time it's like buffets, even for breakfast. So since it's kosher, they never serve milk and meat in the same meal, with the exclusion of fish, because they don't consider fish to fall into the meat category. So you'll have dairy in the morning, okay, but you won't have meat of any kind other than fish.
No bacon?
Well, you don't have any pork.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. I forgot all about that.
You won't have pork. You have to wait till you get back to get your
The ribs
crispy
and bacon?
Yeah. So anyhow, and in the evening, you won't have dairy. There'll be meats, there'll be chickens and beef and all that kind of stuff. What's interesting is I think they have perfected the non-dairy of the world because of this. And so we would go and they would have like on the dessert bar, and it's evening time, and it would look like all these creamy desserts. And it's like, wait, we're not supposed to have dairy. But it's not. But it's incredibly delicious. Things that are like whipped creams and pudding type stuff, and there's not a drop of cow milk in it all. Okay, so, but in the morning, like I said, they don't have meat, but they do have fish sometimes for breakfast. And you and I might not ordinarily be used to that, but they would have like smoked salmon and different things like that. So, and they would have all kinds of homemade breads of different kinds, homemade jellies, juices,
Usually eggs,
fruits,
either hard boiled or.
yeah, cheeses,
depending
hard
on what
cheeses.
Yeah, some places had like an omelet bar where you could go and have them make you an omelet or scrambled or 2 fried eggs or whatever. Some places just had hard boiled eggs cold.
Yeah, all your coffees and teas and stuff like that. Really good coffee over there. Ms.
Do we
Bell?
have to do anything special to ward off like pickpockets?
So they'll warn you. There's certain places where it's more important to be wary than others. Like I said, so I had this vest, a Columbia vest, and so it zipped up, and as you open it up, there was a deep pocket in here. And so I would put some stuff in there. The other thing I had was that belly band, which is actually under my shirt. So everything was like, it was almost impossible to get to it in that way. So I didn't carry a wallet, I just carried my credit card the only credit card I took 2 credit cards, so I had to back up. And then I had the cash, I had my ID, you have to take your ID with you, and the passport. And so all that would go either in my belly band, or if I knew I was gonna need it easier and I didn't wanna have to like go through my layers, I'd just stick it inside there. So it was pretty protected. They tell you they have different quarters, like in Jerusalem, you have the Jewish quarter, the Arab quarter, somewhere like that. And they'll tell you, just it has a reputation, when you're in the Arab quarter, they're known for pickpockets there. So for instance, I was telling you I had these pants and they had zippers on them. And we were in the place that they called the upper room, and it got crowded because they were having everybody in there. And I was always just kind of like patting myself down as I went place to place just to make sure I still had stuff. And so we'd gone in there and we were walking out, and I went like this and I realized someone had opened that zipper on my pant leg right here. I didn't have anything in it, but it made me thankful, you know, that I didn't put anything there, because it probably would have been gone. So, and I never even bumped the zipper open, you know, but people were bumping up against you, and they know that that's an ideal place.
So stuff a bunch of tracks in it.
Yeah, that's right. I was shouting a lot, steal.
Yeah, I use the same kind of vest with the stuff inside it, so that's, you know, so that's easy to do. And I had a kind of like, I don't know how they call it, it's not a complete backpack, it's the one that's kidney, I don't know what it's called, like a half one. So you normally wear it, you know, on your back, not a problem. But so when we were in those places, I just switched it around and carried it on my front, you know, so that it was right here. You know, you're walking around and you've got layers and you have a coat and this and anything, but you're carrying it this way. So just think about, you know, you might want to pick up something that would be lightweight. It could 2 different ways. We talked about backpacks on the flight, because that can be your personal bag. You can fit a lot in a backpack and it's still considered your personal bag.
Right.
Which you can use as your carry-around bag every day, because you're going to want to carry bottled water, snacks, if you're going to eat, you know, during the day for lunch or whatever. You will want to bring your own toilet paper, because not all bathrooms have toilet paper. So maybe as you're throughout the year, smaller rolls of toilet paper, you know, collect those and stick them in your suitcase and bring them, just so you can carry. They do still travel toilet paper, but I'm just saying, you know, you might want to have wipes or something like that, hand sanitizer in
That's
your.
more when you're out and about.
Yeah, when you're out and about. The hotels are fine. Hotels are great. I'm just talking about when you're out for the day. But you might want to carry more stuff in that backpack for the flight and stuff. That may be too big of a backpack to carry every day. Does that make sense? So you can flatten, like the kidney one I had, I just flattened it in my suitcase. And I didn't use it and I just used it when I got there. I put all the stuff in it. And then I just flattened it, emptied my suitcase coming home, and used a different bag for the flight. You could use the same backpack both times. He carried a lot of the extra stuff, because mine wasn't as big as his, so he carried some of my stuff as well. So.
If you don't have a backpack and you're thinking about getting one, in my estimation, it's good to get one that has lots of small compartments. So like some backpacks, it just has one big zipper on the top and then this big cavity inside. And you can do that, then everything's kind of jumbled, and whatever you're looking for is always going to be like on the bottom. You know, so some of them have lots of pockets, lots of zippers, compartments inside of compartments. You know, that's the best way. Now, they do have bottled water. You won't have any problem staying hydrated. They'll have water at the hotel, but they'll also have a big cooler on the tour bus every day. And I think it was like $1 for a bottle of water. And so, you know, we would always have 2 bottles. I'd have one for her, one for me in my backpack.
We bought Smart Water bottles because they're a sturdier plastic. They don't crush in your hand when you're trying, you know, so they were sturdier, but you have to go through security with it empty. And then, you know, fill it up in the airport after that kind of thing. and then we could carry it around, you know, because the other ones crush really easy, so.
Could you like take it your Yeti?
You could.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
you
sure
could. You could take a plastic.
We were
you
just
know.
thinking, hey, if we lost this or it
Right.
got damaged, we don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, in the end, it's just a nice plastic disposable water bottle. So we actually still have both of them. So, let me change gears a little bit. Go ahead.
One question about the water. This ain't like Mexico where you can't drink the water, right?
Did they tell us not to drink the water like at the hotel and stuff like that?
At the hotel was fine.
Yeah, when you're out and about, they
They do encourage you to drink water.
Yeah. But again, you won't have any problem, you know, getting it there. Let me talk a little bit about, you know, the actual sightseeing day. Because you look at this brochure and it gives you a good delineation of what, you know, you're going to see every day. And some things involve a little bit more travel than others, like going from place to place. Some things are like, you know, hop on the bus, drive 15, 20 minutes, you're there. Something might be a couple hours to get there. And during that time, some of it's quiet and you can talk, catch a nap or something like that. But the tour guide that we have, he does an excellent job of just sharing a wealth of information. And so even as we're driving, he'll talk about some of even the modern history of Israel, but he knows that we're interested more in the biblical history of things. So he'll say, hey, we're going to be coming up to the wilderness of En-Gedi. This is where David was fleeing from Saul. And then he'll go on and talk about, you're going to see this, which was helpful because you kind of prepare. Then when you got there, you already kind of had his, you know, preliminary speech in your head. And then he would talk about it. And it was like, okay, now I can absorb this better. You will get at the beginning of the trip, every person, and this part is put together by Shalom Ministries. This is what Craig gave to us. Very nice booklet, really bright colored maps with the markings on it of different things. Jerusalem, the different quarters, very easy to look at. Several pages like that. Talks about historical periods of the land. Talks about the Herodian family, because that's part of what we see. And then every place you go to, he's got a picture, a little brief description, and then right next to it, blank place for you to write. And so you can, as they're talking, you can jot down notes. So when you're done, you have a keepsake that you can go back to. Plus, you know, you're taking your own photos. I'm showing you this in case you're thinking, I might want to write more than that. Okay, and you might want to take something extra to write on. That's up to you. But you will get something like this. You even have some songs in the back. We would stop, and it wasn't just like all lecture. We would have spiritual devotional time where we'd stop, have a little time in the Word. You know, like this is the site that is most attributed to be the Garden of Gethsemane. This is where our Lord came, prayed before he went to the cross. We have a little bit of read the scripture in that passage. And then there, you know, like a lot of places, he'd say, okay, you can have some personal time. You know, fan out, walk along, you know, and enjoy it. I remember sitting down on one of the benches and just praying and thinking, wow, this is where our Lord prayed, where the disciples didn't pray but slept, you know, all those different things. So you have that, you know, as a tool, you know, each day as you go along. So they also give you, every place you go, the tour guide has a wireless headpiece with a transmitter, and they hand out the receivers, little boxes that clip on your belt with earpieces, you know, just earbuds, wired earbuds. And when he's talking, because he might be a little farther away from you, there might be some ambient noise, there might be another tour group right over here, that happens a lot. And so you can hear him right in your ears.
Nice.
So that's very helpful. Some of our people that was on our group were elderly and hard of hearing. They had no problem. You can turn as loud or as soft as you wanted. What I did a few times was I had an app on my phone that's a voice recorder, and I pulled one of the earbuds and put it up against the microphone so I could record what he was saying. Because I'm like, I'm not going to remember all this. You know, I can still hear him in this one, but I was getting it that way too. So there's, you know, all sorts of things you can do that way. before you go, well, I'm assuming, they sent us one of these booklets. They don't produce this. It's made by Abington Press, but it gives even more, lots of information and pictures about different areas. It's grouped by regions, like the region of Galilee, region of Judea, the southern Negev. Some of these places, we won't go to, but pretty much any place we are going to is in here, okay? So that's another helpful little book that you'll have to familiarize yourself. And I would say, if you do reading ahead on some of the places, then that helps you to appreciate what you're going to see even more when you get there. What else? You think of anything?
We can have more meetings like this throughout the year.
We can, right.
Closer to
If I determine that there's a need for another group meeting, you're always welcome to reach out to me or Becky and say, I have this question or that question, and we can answer them on an individual basis.
I get motion sick kind of easy, and so I lived on Dramamine when I was there because the tour bus, the roads are not exactly super smooth and paved, so, the bus the big windows and stuff, so that helped me, and I managed okay, but, so if you have issues like that, you're gonna wanna bring Dramamine, because the bus.
But it is a coach bus.
Yes,
It's
coach
a
bus.
high-end
You're
coach
up the
bus.
steps and you're,
Yeah.
so
Air
it's very
conditioned,
comfortable, a lot of room.
No bathroom in it,
Yeah,
but they do take plenty of bathroom stops, so.
Is it like other places like in that area, the restrooms? Like when I was in Turkey, they just had
Communal.
holes in the ground.
Yeah, we never had anything like that. The
Okay.
bathrooms were always,
Well, most of the places, the one place we went to that was the most different, and I think it was in the city of Jerusalem, you kind of, you went up and there's men and women in line, and you go in and there's basically a U-shaped space and there's individual doors. So they're all private, but you're in line, you just go to the next one that's open. So, I ended up in the one to the left, and then a friend of one of the ladies, she was in the one to the right is the next one. So we both came out at the same time. I had a regular toilet. She had the hole in the ground. She was like, woo, that was an
Yeah.
experience. So she was not expecting that at all. So
Right.
it's one of those things where, I guess you can wait and say, I'll wait for the next one, but that's the only place that I saw that. Everything else was fun.
yeah. It's still an upgrade from what Paul had when he was there.
Yeah. The hotels are all 4- and 5-star hotels. They're very
Yeah.
nice. There's someone had asked me at any point, did I ever feel not safe? I said no.
It is one of the safest places
Yeah,
in
you
the
see
world.
Israeli
Oh, yeah.
soldiers with machine, whatever kind of guns they
Yeah,
have.
but they're very relaxed because they know that there's not going to be any issues.
Yeah, at some places that you go, they're like, oh yeah, that barbed wire fence, that's the Israeli border right there. I mean, you can see the border and over, and there's a dirt path over the Jeeps, they patrol it and they go up and down there, but that's the edge of the country, you're right there. Other places, you can see where Israel's divided into 3 sections. Let's say A, B, and C. So A is Israeli controlled, and let's say C is Arab controlled, and then B is where everybody mixes. And so Israelis can be in A and B, but they would have to literally cross a border crossing to go into C. And so some of the, you can see, you'll drive by and you can see, there's a border crossing and there's soldiers out there and everything, but you never feel threatened at all. So they love roundabouts. They're everywhere.
I love it.
Everywhere.
I do too.
With the bus. So, yeah.
But that is from your perspective.
My perspective, right.
And she's ultra.
And the guy, if we get the same driver, he's an amazing driver. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these little villages you're going through, and there's another bus coming, and I'm sitting next to the window, and I could literally, if the window was open, I could reach out and touch the side view mirror of the other bus.
At least
I mean,
you
you're
felt
like,
that way anyway.
well, it was right there.
I'm pretty sure it's that close.
But, they're very, he does it all the time, it's his profession, and he was great, so.
No. Good. Good.
Have a write-in question.
Okay.
Are there any restrictions or things to know about traveling with different kinds of medicine, just regular pain relievers, or even like rescue inhalers, things like that?
I think as long as it's in the bottles, like it has the prescription label on it, the TSA will look at that, but they'll recognize it as legitimate.
So what about Israel? What about Israel?
Yeah, I mean, you go through customs when you get there, but it's the same situation. They'll look at it, but I mean, I had prescription medicine and I didn't have any
So
problem.
don't put it in a pill box until after you get to the.
Yeah, you want to have, right. They might say, what is this? I don't know if they would or not, but I would say the safest thing is to carry it in its prescription content, so, yeah.
What about displaying like Tylenol or ibuprofen?
Shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, there's no problem with any of that.
Go to the
we took
TSA
stuff like that.
website.
We took ibuprofen with us. I took supplements, I take like vitamins and things like that. Now, in those cases, I think I might have already apportioned it out by the day before we got
That's how
there.
people travel, you've got pill boxes and stuff. I don't know, I didn't know of anybody that had any issues with it.
No, and of course, that was 4 years ago, so that might be a good question to re-ask now. Has any of that changed? So that's a question that I could ask Craig as we get closer.
What about COVID and stuff like that? Do you have,
Israel's wide open. They don't require vaccines.
okay.
They don't require masking. They don't require waiting periods now.
As
As of now, right? I mean, yeah.
Would that be,
So wonder what would happen if, and you got close to the trip, and they said, you have to have a vaccine, and you've already taken the trip.
Well, I don't know, but I would say it's highly unlikely, according to Craig, because most of these countries that were even very restrictive are saying that there's now enough people in their countries that have had it. Either they've had the vaccine or they've had COVID, that they're not as worried as they were when it first happened. So, and Israel is one of their biggest economies is tourism. So they think really long and hard before they do anything to discourage travelers from coming. So they were one of the first ones to open back up.
Yeah.
But Israel was also, they said not too long ago that they were one of the countries that regretted doing mass vaccinations.
Right.
Because they said the numbers never played out to
Correct.
justify what they did. So
Correct. Yeah.
I know when I flew the other day and went through security, it was way lax, but
Yeah.
a whole lot easier to go through than it
Right.
used to be. So.
Worst case scenario, I could see them requiring us to mask. If there was like a rise in an outbreak or something like that.
the travel protection plan here. You purchase that through yourself, you do that?
I'm trying to remember, we did do it. I think we contacted,
Is it through EO?
it's a separate thing called TripMate was what we used. I don't know if that's the same one.
Yes, it says that tripmate.com.
Yeah. So you may go to the website itself or contact them directly.
Use the information below says tour, HO, information on the brochure.
I haven't reread this particular printout on the.
Good question. Go ahead, ask us.
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Another write-in question. Can you take a steamer and is there a hairdryer available in hotels or can you bring one?
Yeah, almost all the hotels had hair dryers in them. I don't remember about steamers.
I don't know, but you have to use the converter plugs. You were gonna
Yes,
do that.
thank you. So we purchased a converter plug to be able to use over there that had 2 outlets on it, and then it also had charging ports for like phones, tablets, things like that, the USB ports and stuff. And it would just, you know, and it came with an assortment of different tips that you added to it depending on what country you're in, which worked for Israel among others. And so, and it had surge protection built in and stuff like that. So we'll take that with us when we go too. And I forget, it was like $40 maybe or something like that. Did I send you the link for
You
that?
did, yeah, it was about 40.
We just had our phones to charge.
That one that you sent me was actually a step-down voltage converter too, because Israel operates on 230 volts and
Right.
50 hertz instead of 60 like here. A lot of devices, like your cell phone charger, you can look at it and print it on there. It'll say what it accepts, and so like my phone charger will work on 230 volts and 50 hertz. So you can just get a plug adapter that basically just changes the prongs.
Right.
But if you've got certain other devices, probably more likely if you're using like an AC device, then you would need a converter like what he had that actually converts it into American power basically.
Things that are not electronic based, like if you do bring a hairdryer, most likely if you plug it in without a step-down transformer, it is going to make smoke.
But during the hotel, like they hair dryers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think every hotel we were in had
Yeah.
had one of those, you know, ones that's like mounted in the bathroom type thing. Yeah.
Did you have
I
one?
might, I might wear that wig that I had.
Good, what? Oh,
I might
wait.
take the wig with me.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Did you have more, Dan?
Do you have candy there?
Huh?
They don't have pork, so they have candy?
Yes.
They have lots of candy over there. Yeah. You do a fair amount of walking? Oh, so there's some places that can be a little bit more challenging to be a pedestrian than others. But they will alert you to that fact when the tour bus stops. And there was a couple places where, like, I walked, but she and some others might have stayed in the tour bus or something like that. Like, for instance, the Mount of Olives. The tour bus came to the top of the Mount of Olives, and the Garden of Gethsemane was like midway down the hill, but it's a very steep hill. So when you're walking, you're kind of like walking sideways. It's like cobblestone or something like that, but it's just steep. And so the buses can't drive up and down it. And then the tour bus would meet at the bottom. And some people was like, I'll skip that spot, you know, for instance. And was it, I think, Mount Carmel you didn't go up?
I went up Mount Carmel, but Dan was a little bit challenging. 'cause
But
it's
you did
more-
it.
Yeah, I did, but
Okay.
it was more through the woods and kind
Yeah.
of like a nature path.
But just to give you an idea, we had two people, retired age, that both had recently had knee replacement surgery, like within weeks or whatever, and they still went on the trip. And they had like a walker with wheels or something like that, and they were able to do most of the tour, you know, even in that condition and stuff. But there might have been a couple spots. And you can always choose to stay back at the hotel, like if you know that day, maybe you're just tired or something like that. I mean, you want to try to, you're going all the way to Israel, you want to see everything, right? But it's not the end of the world if you say, I'm going to stay back at the hotel today, you know, and rest. And you can do that if you choose to. Well, if we're not changing hotels. Yeah.
If you checked out. But you can stay in the bus.
Don't be
Drive-
You can stay in the bus, right? You can
Drive
stay in
would
the
be on
bus.
yeah.
So if you stay back, do they have like Uber you can call, or?
I'm sure they do. That never came up, but they have Uber everywhere. So you might need to know how to speak Hebrew.
Your iPhone does.
Yeah, that's true. You do the translate through
Yeah.
either
Alright.
Google Translate or iPhone. Good. Oh, what else? Excited? You going?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, and like I said, if you have questions about, you know, people that aren't here, I mean, I would be happy to have a phone conversation with someone, like if you had, someone that lives away from here, maybe have a relative, it's like, oh, I know they would like to go on this. I was talking to one of our gentlemen, and his best friend lives in Charlotte, and he felt like he couldn't do this by himself, but he's like, but my friend went with me, because he says he would really like to go to Israel. I'm like, well, let's talk to him and see if that's something you two could do together. So, yeah, I think we'll have plenty of room, is the idea. We're probably not in danger of you filling up a tour bus. I think they hold like 50 or something like that on there.
It says we need 25 to get our rate.
Yes, minimum. Now, yeah, to get this rate, we need a minimum of 25 people.
And is that 25 just from our church group, or
No.
were they going to throw in some stragglers from?
Yeah, there could be some people, I told Craig that if there's other people that don't have a church to go with, but they'd like to go, that we would be happy to have them consider us as an option.
It's 25 total.
I don't think that there's a danger of something to 25.
I don't think so. I think there was like 38 people said we're interested in going. So, I mean, even if a third of the people that put their name on the clipboard don't end up going, we should still be okay.
Well, it also says there, if it doesn't meet the 25, there's a higher price.
Right.
So if there's only 24, it might be an increase in price.
It might be a little bit.
What are we gonna negotiate? Some of us count as two people.
How do we pay our deposits? Do we?
To Anchor Baptist Church, just like, best thing is to check if you can do that. Yeah, Terry's our local coordinator here. She's not here today because she's not well, Jim's not well. I guess she's not well, so I don't know if she just stayed home because of being exposed to Jim. But, so yeah, she'll be the person to give your money to. But make it out to Anchor Baptist Church, then we'll send him one check. But again, that check that we're talking about for the end of January, it's not going anywhere right away. I mean, we'll deposit it when you give it to us. But if something happens between now and April 28th, you're like, I really want to go, but I can't, we'll give you your money back, no questions asked to that. Okay? Anything else? Good. Yeah, take these, if you haven't already read them, look at what's being done in each place. It does a good job just whetting your appetite for it. It really is, a very memorable experience. Even as I talk about it now, about different spots, I can see it just like I was yesterday. So as I read my Bible or I hear something, I'm like, oh yeah, I now know what it looks like where the plain where David and Goliath fought, for instance. That's pretty cool. Like how far away were the Philistines on the hillside when David started charging? Where was that brook? You can see the brook, still there where you got the 5 swim stones. I mean, it's just really, really neat. Really neat.